Ethics Committee a request to look at some things. They don't need to, I don't think
That's the current
empowerment or anything like that needs to be used.
That's the current motion, to have them look at these matters and come back in November.
Resolutions is to empower them in some way. I don't know what that means.
That's a big difference.
It says here, I think, instructing. We're instructing the ethics panel.
Requesting the Ethics Committee to send us recommendations if they so desire. Of course, we'd have to vote on it.
Law director would like to speak about it.
First of all, I represent this body, and I represent the Ethics Committee as well, and advise the Ethics Committee. And certainly as part of my duties in advising the Ethics Committee, if you instruct them to review and make recommendations regarding improvements or clarifications to the policy, first thing I'm going to do is to go and see what the other counties have done in the state. So, with that said, I want them to have full knowledge of what everybody else has done. I have some other information, too, I'd be glad to share with the Ethics Committee, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, if they are empowered to study it and to review it. Right now, as we've talked about on many occasions, I do not believe that they have the power to make recommendations to this body, to spend their time doing that. There's nothing within their authority that grants them that power, and so that's why this matter is brought before this body, is to give them the opportunity to do that, and basically the jurisdiction, the power, the authority to do that. That's quite a responsibility for the Ethics Committee. That's quite a bit of work, and I think it just takes more. It certainly takes an act of this body in order to do that.
Commissioner Lambert.
Let me withdraw that if we're going to have a legal battle about it. I mean, I just don't get it, John. These are citizens of this county that pay taxes. Anybody can walk with that microphone and say anything to us they want to, I thought.
They can, and as Ms. Waller did tonight, she did. But as a committee, they need to have the authority to do what they do. And their authority under the policy that was passed by this commission is to investigate, to receive and investigate complaints, and to make recommendations as a result of their investigation. That's it. That's all it allows.
I withdraw.
I think, if what we want to do is strengthen the ethics policy, we've got a strength right now. Today, when we had our meeting with the chamber, I didn't eat their lunch. I can live by the rules, and I understand if we're not going to take nothing, that's the way I feel. I haven't done anything since all this started happening. I don't eat people's lunch. I don't have them buy me lunch. I don't buy those people lunch anymore. And if that's just a safe way to do business. And if that's, instead of trying to change things, if we want to tighten it, it's pretty daggone tight right now. And I can tell you that everybody's watching us. And so the best thing in my thought is just don't take anything. I don't go out and do anything. If I do it on my own dime. And maybe that's what we ought to do. So.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree. Just don't do anything, and it'll keep you out of trouble. But, Mr. Law Director, then it is up to this body to make the necessary adjustments to our ethics policy, to give it some teeth, to give the Ethics Commission guidelines. So why don't we, as a commission, come up with a committee to do this, instead of putting it on the Ethics Commission, where you so eloquently pointed out that they don't have the power to do this. This is our job. Then why don't commission have, Mr. Chairman, you can appoint, we can vote, whatever we want to do is put some people in the committee to study what's being done around the state, to go look at it, and then bring it back to the Ethics Commission, or bring it back to this body.
If that's a motion, I'll second.
So if we're charged to do it, let's do it. This is not easy decisions we have to make, and that's why we make the big bucks. So let's earn them.
Is that a motion?
Mr. Law Director,
And I second.
Mr. Law Director, we not accept the state's ethics committee laws.
What we did, we adopted the policy that was the model policy that CTAS came up with. That's what we did, which is now on file with the state Secretary of State.
But this would be a completely separate body. This would be the Ethics Policy Committee.
Would this be a subcommittee of it?
That would satisfy me. The main thing I don't want is I don't want to have a body come up with policy and also enforce the policy. It would satisfy me if we had two separate committees.
Commissioner Hammond.
Just very briefly, you already have a committee, and their law directors already said by passing this resolution, you give them the authority to do that. These are people that you've already selected.
Okay, Commissioner Harmon.
Sometimes you need your friends to tell you what's wrong, or your constituents, or your wife to tell you that tie doesn't work at all. You need outsiders. We have a committee that has 2 commissioners on it and some outsiders. All we're asking them to do is make a recommendation, series of recommendations that we are free to ignore or change. I still don't see what's, and I know that Commissioner Lambert, you're hung up on this idea about enforcement and making, again, we do this all the time. The federal government has committees that recommend judges pay, and they don't automatically go into force. They have to be voted on by Congress. This is merely a recommendation. We can do it. Let's go back to Commissioner Hammond's original motion and just take a straight up or down vote on it.
What do you have against creating another committee? And we could have another
Because we don't need 2 committees,
We
Craig.
could have another committee that doesn't have a single person serving in government on it. We could have a real committee of citizens and not politicos. We could have a committee without anybody that's elected on it. What would be the matter with having a real committee of average citizens making recommendations for the policy rather than going back to this committee?
Because we're playing a shell game.
And this committee, by the way, there are politicos on this committee that have axes to grind with individuals that are being petty. I know there's one man that we would not appoint him to the Industrial Development Board because of nepotism, because his son was on the city's Industrial Development Board, and that gentleman has done nothing but criticize this commission. Now, I don't think he's taken his charge seriously, and I don't think that he's being impartial when every word that he says in the paper is against this commission. I think that if we're going to have somebody advise us on ethical policies, that it needs to be a clean, independent group, not a group of politicos with axes to grind. I think we need citizens.
We know by now that politics is what the other guys do and honest public policy is what you do. That's everybody's definition. So let's get real about this, okay? We have a commission. It's fine. Let it make a recommendation. And by all means, let's stop the personal attacks on the members of it. Let's just argue about what the best
I
policy
agree
is.
completely.
You just engaged in some.
Okay, we've got a substitute.
I just pointed out that there have been personal attacks against this body made by a member. That is bringing it to the attention of folks that this ethics committee is not of snow white folks. There's people out there with political axes to grind, and it's as political as anything in this government. And if we're going to have someone recommend a policy, let's get a new committee, an independent committee of all citizens.
I was Snow White once, but I drifted. And let me just say, we all have drifted. Let us just put this group of citizens, let's give them the opportunity to do their work. Let's evaluate their work. Let's return to the original motion and pass it.
All right, let's get ready to vote. I think we're all ready. Commissioner.
We're on a substitute motion, are we?
Yeah, Commissioner.
Would you repeat the motion again, please?
Commissioner Trammell's substitute motion is to create a committee. Lee, go ahead and tell us how you want it set up.
It's your motion.
I mean, how many members?
I was just asking simply if that's what you were trying to do, so I would understand it. I think what you would need to do, though, is you need to come up with a number.
A committee of 5 from this body to bring to the full body clarification on our ethics policy, teeth, and enforcement. rules and regulations to be followed